Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chipudi and
Damlola Mushaki.
Alright, before we move into today's papers, I can see you're really excited this morning.
Really excited.
What exactly is making you happy?
I don't know. I just woke up and I'm just excited. There are just those days where you just wake up and you just feel happy. Maybe about the things that just surround you. And when you look at it, when I looked at it from the beginning of the year up to now, and I think I have a reason to say thank you, Lord. So that's why I'm happy.
Speaking of, I'm going to check this one, but let's just move straight to the front pages of the papers. I'll be starting off with Vanguard. The main headline says KATSINA abduction, 2 students killed by kidnappers. Escapee recounts. The writer says that Masari briefs Buhari, says talks on with kidnappers of Kankara schoolboys. Abduction confirmed service chiefs not in charge, Northern Elders. It's a wake-up call to rejig security apparatus, Middlebelt Group says. Top operatives don't want the insecurity to end, JNI. Another outrageous tragedy of worsening insecurity, NLC says. Thugs disrupt CNNG's security summit in Kaduna. On page 29, we handed over our boys cheaply to Boko Haram, showing Kai saying that one. On the photo story, we have a cross-section of 72 new silk and justices of the Supreme Court during a ceremony for their swearing in by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And that's what we have on the photo story. Above, we have on page 6, criminals escaped from CALABAR Police Headquarters custody. That's a very alarming one. On page 11, Lagos COVID-19 deaths rise to 231. On page 8, we didn't fix new petrol price, federal government. And on page 8, NASS queries NCC for inflating salaries budget to 29.195 billion naira. Stories beneath, we have on page 29, how I cut cost of governance, Peter Obi. On page 10, headsman attacks, OPC vows to end killing in Oyo. Still on page 10, we have crisis. Southwest PDP suspends chairman, disowns Oyinlola's reconciliation committee. Lastly, on the front page of the Vanguard, we have COVID-19. Reposition your fiscal revenue management system. Federal government tells governors. And away from the Vanguard, move straight to the Punch newspaper.
On the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have a KATSINA mass abduction. Bandits first took schoolboys to neighboring villages, and that's coming from residents. And the writer says, I relocated from Kankara to KATSINA after I was kidnapped twice. Says LG Walker. Shoyinka lampoons the presidency's response to killings, says Buhari not in charge. Monarchs Council queries why military can't occupy Lake Chad and Sambisa. You can see the stories on page 2 and 7. Also here on the photo story, it has a rider. The rider says a vehicle from Niger Republic intercepted by the Nigeria Customs Service with 73 locally made guns and 891 cartridges at KB State on Monday. You can see more of that story inside the newspaper. Also on pages 4 and 5, we have Oyo kidnapping, NSCDC official killed, a soldier injured, and Lebanese freed. Wife weeps as killer cop tells panel detailed husband died. Ondo Varsity expels student, returns fees as mother attacks founder. You can see that story on page 26. On page 7, We have police vow a crackdown as Ogun mob kills travelers and burn cars. Also, church founder Abilis gets a 4-year imprisonment for trading in human parts. That's a very sad word here. Also, on page 7, we have hindrance to APC's promises should be weeded out, and that's coming from Tinubu. The stories above the nameplates here on page 9. Electoral College confirms Biden's presidential victory. On page 19, marketers refuse to obey 5 naira reduction in petrol price. Lastly, on the front page of The Nation, on page 9, we have fear grips 26 infected general aides, COVID-19 positive commanders spread. And that's all on Punch, and from there we'll move to The Nation newspaper.
And on The Nation newspaper, we have main headline: military abducted pupils taken away on motorcycles. The rider says kidnappers demand ransom, end to aerial surveillance. North elders, JNI slams government. UN, NLC, others flee boys kidnap. Stories above, we have 8 more army generals test positive to COVID-19. You can see that on page 34. And on page 12, Zenith Bank's GMD Onyago named Sarah's CEO of the year. On page 5, soldiers killed as gunmen abduct foreigner in Oyo. Also on page 6, federal government ASU talks pulled off again. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, Kwara governor bags UN's he for she award. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers. We're moving into the newspaper analysis segment. We're going on a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
We read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.
Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
We read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.
Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi and
Damlala Bashake.
I'll move straight to the newspaper analysis segment, and we'll be starting off with the first story, and that's the KATSINA school attack. That's 2 students killed by kidnappers, and the student name withheld of the attacked government secondary school Kankara in Katsina State, who escaped from the bandit hideout, said 2 of the students have been killed. Parents of the missing students, that's Hadia Faiza Hamza Kankara, who spoke to Vanguard, said the survivor student stated this while giving an account of his ordeal in the hands of the captors. The grieving parents said the student told them that the bandit feed them with leaves and beat them beat them like cattle. She also said the student told them that the student still missing stands at over 500, saying whoever said the numbers of missing children is 10 is a liar. And according to her, my son Usman Lawal Tahir is in SS2 class. He's still missing. One of the students who returned yesterday, that's on Sunday, said that there were about 520, and that included 2 that were killed and him who escaped. So, however, and whoever said the missing children were 10 lied. Today, another child just returned and is being interviewed in the principal's office. So we're waiting to hear what is the situation with the missing children over there. Although when he returned, one of the security personnel who brought him back said 15 more are on their way back before the dusk. The children said they were fed with leaves and beaten like cattle. We appeal to the president and the governor Masari to come to our aid and rescue our words. We cannot sleep and cannot eat, the grieving parents said. And meanwhile, the grieving parents of the students have besieged the school premises awaiting the return of their missing children. And this was coming on the heels of the promises made by the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, that the missing school children will soon be released. Hearing this whole story after these children were being kidnapped on Friday rather, and it's really worrisome to the heart. Thinking of what the parents are going through, what hearing this one now that says that 2 students were killed. Some parents will start to wonder, is it my child that was killed? It's a lot of situation. Also, it just speaks so much about our security situation that it has really, gone down the drain drastically. We're at a level where nobody's safe anymore. Imagine the president being in KATSINA and, with this whole occurrence. When we had our guest yesterday, one of the guests was saying that these people who perpetrated this act were trying to just sort of embarrass the president, by actually kidnapping children from his home place. It's really saddening to see things like this occur every time, in, and then there's nothing that is being done about it. They just get assurance. Take a full story of a full look at the Chibok girls and also the Dapchi girls when they were also taken. Till now, some of them they've not been returned. Leah Sharibu, the last we heard of her, she already had a child or so for one of the Boko Haram people. It's a very sad one because now you raise children to hope that with education they'll have a better future, and then they are being taken away, and then you can't find your children. As I was reading an account of one of the parents, and one of the parents was saying that he would have preferred that his child was even dead than kidnapped, because the fact that the child is even kidnapped, you don't know how they are feeding where they are, you do not know. So to imagine a parent saying that he would have preferred to see his child dead than even kidnapped shows you the level of how much fear, how much anxiety they are going through.
And that's why people say a dead child is better than a missing child, and we can see the evidence from what that one has said. It's really, really sad, for parents to just live every day, try, especially this festive period where people are supposed to be happy and they're just trying to think about your children that you don't even know when they will come back. Just like we talked about the Dapchi girls and Chibok girls, they are not back. So many of the parents will be hoping, they will be looking at them thinking, when will my child come back? Will I also get my child back? I hope it will be like the case of Leah Sharibu and some others. But we just pray and hope that these children will be released back to their parents. And still talking about insecurity, it takes me to the story of the prison break that happened in Calabar, and that's 19 armed robbery suspects have escaped from custody at the Cross River Police Command headquarters at Diamond Hill, Calabar. The escapee, according to a police source, took place Sunday night when the robbers used a axle to cut the iron key to the cell where they were detained and made good their escape. And according to one of the officials, I said that one of the escapees has been rearrested as of yesterday afternoon, but the authorities have dispatched crack teams across the city to track the runaway robbers. Meanwhile, the Cross River State Police Command has clarified the alleged escape of the armed robbery suspects. Like Miss Irene, the State Police Command said one of the robbery suspects' girlfriend supplied the axle with which the robbers used in cutting the iron key to the cell where they were detained to make their escape. She said only 3 of the robbers made the attempt, and 2 of them were gunned down, while one was arrested and returned to the cell. She said the rearrested robber gave the details on how the lady supplied the axle and how the maid attempts to escape. And still talking about that, a 20-year-old boy was among four persons arrested by operatives of the Cross River Command for murder and armed robbery in the states. The four suspected robbers who attacked their victims and killed him in the process were apprehended after the manhunt based on credible intelligence. Still talking about insecurity in Nigeria. Hearing the stories is something that it just discourages you, and you just keep thinking, what is really happening in Nigeria? Imagine a 20-year-old being arrested among those that just murdered and were involved in armed robbery in the state. It's really saddening, and people still trying to escape the police station, escape prison, just because they want to be safe. Look at what is going on in the society, and a girlfriend trying to getting involved in this kind of situation. I really don't.
Do we call it love?
I don't know. Is it love? Why would you call someone who is, they're still suspects, but people who are being investigated? I think you should have respect for the law a little, and try to. Sometimes that's when people talk about it, that some people who are supposed to be behind bars, they are outside and they are not really safe for people, for the persons. And there's someone that is still suspected not to be safe for the society. You are trying to bring them out again. And it's not something we really need right now, especially in this current state we are in Nigeria, where everyone needs to be secured. Everybody is trying to watch their back. They're trying to be safe. You don't know. You're going outside. You don't know what will happen. This morning, someone I knew, he was going with a big amount of money to the market, and the way he tied the money inside the pocket, I was like, seriously, what is going on? Just tied some all over. And I was like, what is this? I was like, seriously, I don't know what will happen outside. I'm scared for my life. And that's what is happening right now. We're hearing of a girlfriend trying to free the boyfriend from the cell.
Sometimes when I hear things like this, I start to wonder to myself that who do we fault for these things? Do we fault do we fault the parents for not raising their children well? Do we fault the society for not being able to provide the youth with the things that they need to grow? Do we fault life itself for playing in this? There's a lot of things to just ask ask about, because you see a young boy who should most likely be doing something with his time, either going to school but there's no school anymore because ASU is on strike. People are now getting
that aspect. You talk about faulting the society, and in also the aspect where you try to fault the parents, maybe children who don't listen. But for them not to listen is because of, still talking about the society. I think in that aspect, it's because of what is happening around in their society, the people they mingle with. So sometimes you really don't know, is it the child you have to fault, is it the parent or the society, just like you asked. So I think it depends on each circumstance itself. That is it.
Alright, people have been calling for there to be like some slash in cost of governance. Maybe if there is some slash in cost of governance, to an extent, life will be a bit better for Nigerians. Exactly. And Peter Obi is telling us how to cut the cost of governance. And he says that's the former governor of Anambra, Peter Obi, says he has explained that one of the most potent ways of getting governance right in Nigeria is for those in authority pruning the cost of governance, which is he described as outrageous and not sustainable. And he spoke to senior security officers and other participants and generals in other security agencies at the ongoing strategic management and policy study course of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Abuja, sharing his personal experiences with the participants on management of resources. Obi explained how he was able to reduce the budget of the governor's office from 30% of the total budget to 4%, thereby saving more funds that led to increase in budgets for education, health, and other critical sectors. In his words, governance is driven by careful planning, and he says, when I became governor, we planned carefully, budgeted properly, and looked inward to bridge budgetary gaps by weeding out things that were not necessary. He says one of the things we did was to close down numerous guest houses and lodges where we had here and there. Planning is not an if for public servants. It does not translate into the ultimate benefit of the masses. As governor, for example, I closed our Abuja lodge and gave it to United Nations Development Program for their use. Because of that, though they were of tremendous assistance to us, they tripled what they were doing and commended Anambra State to other international organizations. And he, spoke further and says that he was able to reduce the cost of trips to Abuja by over 80% by traveling with only those that were necessary, seeking securities at the destinations, getting generous discounts from Anambra people that owns hotels in Abuja, and staying only for days that are necessary, as such trips for him were not substitutes for holidays. He also said he stopped out of station allowance on trips within the southeast, and he further advised those in authority to embark on projects based on necessities and not for the mere pleasure of being counted as having done signature projects that usually plunge states into debt. And he kept on talking about how to remove, cut the cost of governance. Like he said, one of the things he mentioned was instead of just traveling and saying you're spending a couple of weeks, go on the days that are precisely needful. For example, if you're supposed to be at a summit maybe Tuesday, move on Monday, and maybe the summit is going to end like Thursday, make sure that maybe Thursday next available flight brings you back, so you don't have any form of extra costs. He gave a lot of very interesting things that even as a governor, if he had to move from one state to another, instead of moving with the security away from all the way from the state to the other state he's going, he would deploy security in that other state to wait for him so he can go, so he doesn't spend too much money in getting like security all from the states to follow him down there, and then adding all that securities. And these are things that we've been talking about. About 2 weeks ago, I took a story of where some ministers and some governors were still reported to be padding their aids. They had, some of them had like 6,000 aids, and it still begged the question of how are you going to pay these people? In eventualities that we, of course, at this point now, we're really into a deep recession and money is not available. Money is not available. Now, how do you intend to pay these people when you realize that you cannot afford to pay them anymore? You start to borrow money, and next thing your state is in debt. Also, there was a time we're taking story of a government parastatal that was still owing money. They said they had spent all the money to pay their staff salary for November and December, and that they should wait till 2021. That kind of thing is something on its own.
Who wants
like
to
you thinking about it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you thinking about it like these people do not have their salaries, and then you are still thinking of adding aids to your bunch of aids. People that are not necessary. There talks about the fact that some of these people they do not even have any jobs they're doing. They're not doing anything. They're just following. They're just benefiting from luxury trips, travel abroad, travel expenses, and all those things.
If you're trying to create a job opportunity, by allowing people getting more space for your aids, I think it's better for you to just create, just start a business, do something that they can work. Do where they can work, and also of course money will be coming in and you also be paying them, instead of you just putting them where they won't be doing anything and you just be paying them with the government's money, and at the end of the day you don't really know what you're going to do. But we're still talking about that, still talking about it. We're talking about budgets increasing every time we talk about this. Every year you look at some of the budgets for each state and you just look at what they want to use this money for and all that. And we're still talking about it also. NCC queries, NASS queries and NCC for inflating salary, to 29.195 billion naira, and that's a huge amount of money. The Joint Senate and House of Representative Committee on Telecommunication yesterday queried the Nigerian Communications Commission, that's NCC, for shooting its financial provision for payment of consultancy services. The payment, it was noted to rise to 29.195 billion naira proposed for payment of salaries and wages in the 2021 fiscal year, as against the sum of 16.850 billion naira approved in the 2020 fiscal year. The query was given at 2021 budget, the variance section of the committee, with the NCC Executive Vice Chairman, that's Umar Dambata. The lawmakers also demanded explanation over the increase in the consultancy service of 1 billion naira proposed for 2021 against the sum of 394.331 million naira, and that's a large. Of course, that's a very, very huge gap, and that money was approved in 2020 Appropriation Acts. In his response, Dambata, through the Director of Finance and Administration, said that the details of the budget performance as at November 30, 2020 showed the total budget of 140.383 billion naira, but the actual figure came to 79.660 billion naira. And that's a huge amount of money, like we're saying. Talking about this money and some of them still increasing. You look at it that this is a country where we're complaining of, people of feeding recession, where people are complaining of hunger, and we keep seeing, a budget increasing and all that. But it's a good thing that NASS is trying to question them, talking about how their money, as of this year, their money, the consultancy service was at 394.331 million naira compared to the money they are giving for 2021, and that's a billion naira. I mean, the gap is really, really a lot, and I think that's why NASS is querying them that they should give an explanation, and I think that explanation is really, really needed.
But the truth of the matter is that I think we do too much explanation in the country, and the people explain too much. For example, yesterday when I was taking one of the stories that's about the NNPC, and when one of somebody was accused of taking 145 million into his personal account.
Oh, yes.
And when they asked the assistant to the representative to the permanent secretary, he said it was a blessing. He demands services was a blessing. You can imagine. So when you see all these things and then there's they are being questioned, it's like they feel like nothing is being done. So somebody else will go and say, okay, I think that I can equally, take my own share.
I saw the story, but the response was just what baffled me, because it's like telling others that you can also do the same when you are given a contract. When you are told to come and faint. When you are told to do this, exactly. When you are told to do something and you just try to, okay, let me take it, I divert the money to your account and award yourself the contract you are supposed to award someone else. I think it's something. This thing we are still talking about how much millions of naira that was used to cut grass, and now we're talking about this again still, and we see people fainting. It's not the first time. It's like fainting is something normal, and you just be like, who is going to faint next? I think that's the question Nigerians are asking.
I saw like a video that was saying the Hall of Faint, like people that have been fainting. If they don't faint, the way they faint, they'll bandage their neck, bandage their hands.
The bad thing about this now is, when someone is really going to faint and someone is really going through some of these health difficulties, Nigerians won't take the person serious. I remember last year where people were really contemplating, like, okay, early this year when they were talking about the person that fainted as Keme Ponde, and we had some people really saying that yes, he was really healed and the acts. And this year, the one that happened recently, nobody even believed it. Nigerians were not even buying the story. Like, that's a story. They don't even know if it is actually true or if there's a medical as he needed a medical assistant that time or not. But of course Nigerians have really lost trust in the government, and that's not something that is really good. But if you talk to Nigerians, they'll be like, it's really something that they are supposed to understand. But definitely the whole situation is like,
let's see if Nigerians understand this one, with the federal government saying we didn't fix the new petrol price, and so the federal government said it has taken a back seat in the issues of petrol price in the country. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, stated this at the Old Banquet Hall, Presidential Villa, Abuja, while inaugurating the Bipartite Plus Technical Committee on Premium Motor Spirit PMS Pricing Framework. A statement from Ngige Media Office quoted the minister saying that the government did not fix the new PMS price that took off in the country on Monday. And he explained that the new 162.44k petrol price was gotten from the commercials like demurrage, transshipment and storage. Also, he said, make no mistake about it, government has taken the back seat. Government did not fix the price they took off from today. It was a price reduction gotten from the commercials. This committee is expected to do more to enthrone transparency in the area. And he keeps on talking, and then he says, recall that the last bipartite meeting, the meeting amongst others agreed that to lower the PMS pump price by 5 naira with effect from today. According to the minister, the price reduction was aimed at bringing relief to the Nigerian people and consumers, and he said this resulted in a downward review of the price from 168 naira to 162 per litre. He also said that we agreed that we shall inaugurate a committee just like we did in the power sector, where we set up a committee on electricity tariffs to look at the rate of electricity. And he keeps on talking, and but when you look at this whole situation of where the federal government is saying that they are not responsible for dropping the price, and the price dropping is from commercials like demurrage, transshipment and storage, he wonders that, okay, so the question is not about who is responsible. The question now that Nigerians want to know is, I don't drop price, I don't drop price.
Because like they're still selling the same amount.
Because a lot of people are still asking questions that we still go to some of these filling stations and we're buying fuel for the same price. So which one are we hearing again? Federal government is coming out to say that they did not drop. You're not the one responsible for dropping the price. That is commercials that are responsible for that. So it's a lot of questions in the minds of Nigerians.
Really, really a lot of questions, and we're still talking about many things. We've talked about insecurity. We've talked about the petrol price, and let's talk about what is really baffling Nigerians right now, and that's about COVID-19. And while we're talking about COVID-19, we can't really talk about it without talking about the case in Lagos. Lagos case has really risen to 231, while the number of cases is now 24,952 as of December 14, 2020. This came on a day that resident doctors at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital that salutes warned Nigerians to be wary of a second wave of the pandemic, noting that some patients previously discharged of COVID-19 are coming down with the virus again. They also expressed their worry that with the second wave, Nigeria is in the middle of another pandemic. Similarly, the Federal Capital Territory, that's FCT Minister Malam Muhammad Bello, decried the non-adherence to the COVID-19 safety protocol, lamenting that the virus has become more and more vengeful in the territory. Also in Kano State, Ministry of Health has confirmed the 12 new infections of the virus, bringing the total number of active cases in the state to 271. COVID-19, also still talking about COVID-19, a lot of Nigerians are really, saying that this cases right now, it's something they didn't really expect. Talking about people that that went down with the virus and they're still coming down again with it, and it was like if you get it once, like we would talk about measles. When you say if you get measles once or chickenpox, you can't get it again. I think that was what people talked about COVID-19, and still talking about the pandemic again. I think I can count the number of people that use face masks on the road. You don't even see people using it again. People don't even follow the protocols again. The buses now, they take full loaded bus, 18-seater, they take the 18 seats, and even some of them even extending it to 24. And you'd be wondering what is going on. I thought we were supposed to be, following the COVID-19 protocols and all that. So it seems that they really need to go to everywhere again and start, implementing these rules.
Now, speaking about this COVID-19, I think Nigerians they cruise for this country. I like to use the word cruise because when you really look at what's going on, I mean, when there was a lot of scares about the whole COVID-19 and all of that, everybody was trying to be very careful because they knew what COVID-19 was at that time. So people did not know what was going to happen, because at that moment when you see anybody sneeze or cough or are trying to blow their nose, you're like, hey, you are so scared. Next thing you're already thinking,
as far as sending you out of the box.
So all those kind of things, they're following up with the protocols, the guidelines and everything. But now it's like they do not care about all those things, but which is really important, because if you look at the reports now, there are a lot of people who are coming down with it, with the flu, down with COVID-19 again. See the army generals now, about maybe roughly about let's say 20 to 30 of them have have gotten COVID too,
including the president of Lagos State. That's not
governor.
That's the governors rather, sorry, of Lagos State who went down with COVID-19. So it's really saying a lot. But I think I was talking to someone yesterday about this COVID, and the person was like, in this part of the continent, we are special, because it's like it's like the first time when it came. I remember then I bought the face masks for 1,000 naira. And right now, people are not even buying it again. And what they're just telling you is that anybody that will catch COVID-19 will catch COVID-19. Who is not supposed to catch it won't catch it. And they really need to. It's just so surprising when you see people saying this. When you hear them saying it, you're like, seriously, what is going on in this country? We've heard of other countries, going back to the lockdown mode. They are locking down the countries, locking down the economy, and here in Nigeria we're in recession, and that's as a result of the pandemic when we were on lockdown. And right now they are talking about another wave of COVID-19 coming, and people are not even bothered. They are not even worried. It's really making the government, it's really making them talk and really cry out. And
this thing also made me, you just reminded me about two Nigerian popular artists, that's like Thames and Omale. They left Nigeria, went to Uganda, they went to hold concert. If you saw, if you were going through their Instagram live video, you'd see how people were all choked up together. And now the Uganda government has a law that says that where people breach the law and everything on this COVID-19, there's a tendency that you might even stay in jail for 7 years. Now there are words that this Nigerian artists they might likely spend about 7 years in jail, but then they're asking the Nigerian authorities to basically intermediate for them, because it's not something. But then a lot of people are still questioning that you stay in Nigeria. Maybe here in Nigeria we don't even take laws seriously. You go to leave your country and then go to another man's country, and then you just disregard their laws and just hold concerts. If you notice it, usually around this time, most of these artists would have said, okay, they are having their concert, the likes of like Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, and the rest of them. But there is no concert this year because of the pandemic. This December period, as a last year we were hearing all the whole dirty December, but nobody's talking about dirty any December anything, because we've gone through a lot in this year, and like that.
Apart from the economy, that's also the pandemic, but it's really risky. And I think we were discussing about it, Omale. Just imagine him going to that prison and coming back. The song will be very old. It's really like the old anthem. But we just hope this doesn't happen. But it's like a lesson to Nigerian musicians, and also Nigerians really need to take this thing serious. Follow the protocols, follow the guidelines. It's out there. COVID-19 is out there. It's really serious. We've had people who have contracted it, and they've come out to give their testimony, and they've really talked about some of the things they went through, how difficult it is to not to be able to breathe for some hours. I don't know if you can just hold your breath for just a minute and check how it is, know how it feels. It's really, really difficult. Sometimes we complain about people having cold, just a minor cold, and you just sit at home not being able to go out. But COVID-19, it's like a other part of it. And I think some new symptoms are coming up, and you can always check that information on our website. But COVID-19, like we always say, it's not like when you're talking about HIV, that you say it's not a death sentence. It's not something that we should be very scared of, but it's something that we should always prevent ourselves from contracting. And let's not forget that if we expose ourselves to it, we're exposing our children, we're exposing our friends, and we're exposing our society and people around us to this pandemic, and it's really not something that is nice.
All right, I think that we'll just take Mr. and Mrs. before we move. And Mrs. is speaking today. Says, how do I collect the monthly allowance? Is it according to the rise and fall of the dollar, performance of the stock market, or price of petrol? And Mr. replies, you get it according to how I love you. And then Mrs. replied, fine, half of your salary we do. So she says that half of the man's salary we do if that's it, because he says you get according to how I love you. But if it's according to how he loves her, it should be all of his salary.
It's not even. I don't know what I wanted to say. I was trying to reason half of the salary. Your money is not enough there when it comes to how you love your partner. I mean,
women and money.
The love needs to show. It's not women and money. This one is facts. It's a fact.
You know, but that's why a lot of
I know people will come for me, but it's a fact now. It's according to how you love her. You said it with your mouth. Mr. said it. So Mrs. replied, half, but to me it's full.
Alright, that's all we can take today in the news. Remember that you can equally like, share and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. As well as you want to find out up-to-date stories, you can go on our website www.vanguardngr.com to find out more. Till I come your way next time, I remain Precious Chukudi and
Damlola Ogunsaki.
Thank you for watching. Have a fabulous day.
Bye-bye.
Port face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments on what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.